Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts. Jiu-Jitsu, it's one of the only martial arts in the world that you can rest in, right? So, because of that, you can be 60 years old and you can start Jiu-Jitsu. Like, one gentleman that you and I know very well is Tom Corey. He started Jiu-Jitsu in his mid-60s, and he was able to become a world champion in Jiu-Jitsu, when he was 70. And that's not really applicable for almost any other martial art. It's really, really difficult to do that. So that's one aspect. Like pretty much, anybody can start jujitsu, and the other thing is, I think the intimacy of jujitsu is what draws a lot of people to it. Just the simple fact that you're on top of one another and you're so close and you're grappling, sweating on one another. That intimacy bonds people, and you can't help but be friends with the guy or girl that was just trying to choke you on top of you for 3 minutes and you're making your life miserable. So I think that's a huge aspect. The last and the big difference between jiu-jitsu and, like, let's say Muay Thai is, in jiu-jitsu, it's a much easier, or not easier, how should I say it, it's much clearer to see the humility aspect. Like in Muay Thai, like some of the people I trained with, like they were kind of not really good, but in their heads they were really good, and they were never tapped out, right? They were never like humbled, because in Muay Thai you're training light. So in their head, them getting touched on the face, they're like, oh, I would never have gotten knocked out, when if they actually fought, they would. But in jiu-jitsu, even in the training room, you see that submission, and what happened, very clearly. So that honesty aspect, I think, is what really draws a lot of people to it as well. And when you can tap somebody out, that just it's a feeling like no other. And next minute you're going to be tapped out too. So you have this high, and then you kind of get humbled as well at the same time. So I think that's also what draws a lot of people to it and makes them more humble, and in my opinion, helps a lot of people. Absolutely, 100%. So the Dao De Jing, and you send me the copy of it. I must have sent it to over 100 people since receiving it from you. And it's interesting, the very first time that I read it, after you had given it to me, I had like electricity going through my body. Like my whole body was tingling, and I'm a pretty unemotional person, and this never really happened to me. So I really, really connected to it, right? At the same time, I don't really speak about it because, you can't speak about it, right? That's what the text says. So, it becomes interesting, right? But, the word that comes to my mind when I think of Taoism is honesty. This is a very important word. And, I'll give one example of Jiu-Jitsu and how it can go against the Tao. So, like, one thing that annoys a lot of Jiu-Jitsu practitioners is, if, let's say, I'm rolling with you, and let's say I'm about to get the better of you, and I'm about to tap you out, and I have you in a triangle choke, and you're like, Alex, yeah, so just shift my arm across my neck, you do this, and then you coach me through, and all right, Alex, great job, awesome triangle choke, and you kind of take away that honesty from me, right? And everybody laughs about it, right? And I see even black belts doing this, right? And that's going against the Tao. So the person that just did this, they were not honest, right? They knew that they were about to tap out, so they chose an approach that would lesser the blows to their ego. So this is one example of many, right? So when you're training and when you're, number one, getting better yourself, improving your technique, when you're helping out your classmates, when you're helping out junior students, in my opinion, this is the way, right? So this is the honest way. And when you're on this route, there are not too many arguments. There are not too many people being upset with you. You're not upset with yourself. Even if you tap out, you come back to the next day and you try to fix that mistake. That's the search for the truth, and that's the search for perfection. And that's following the route of the Tao, in my opinion.